podcast.
Welcome to the Rational Egoist. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz. So recently I read a story that really caught my attention. It was about after-school Satan clubs. And once I saw this, I just knew I had to get somebody from this organization on my podcast. So today we have on the campaign director of the Satanic Temple's After School Satan Club, and she is also an ordained minister of the Satanic Temple, June Everett. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so real simple. What are the beliefs of the Satanic Temple, and what is the Satanic Temple's mission?
Sure. So the Satanic Temple is a non-theistic recognized religion here in the United States. The people that are members of the Satanic Temple and align with the Satanic Temple's 7 tenets are what we call non-theistic Satanists, meaning we don't believe in an actual like devil or Satan. We don't believe in an actual God. I joke that some, of us are really born again atheists in a way. So having said that, we look to Satan as a symbol to standing up to tyrannical authority, nothing more than that. We get a lot of grief, from the different people that oppose us, a lot of the evangelical crowd that, believes that Satan is real and that believes Satan is evil. And, in our thoughts, in our minds, Satan doesn't exist. So I have to explain a lot of times that, Christians don't have the monopoly on Satan. And to us, Satan represents all things that are you. So if you don't believe in Satan, then who do you believe in? Who do you worship? And I like to tell people that we believe in ourselves. So we hail ourselves. We believe, we look to ourselves for whatever it is we need to do instead of a higher being or, some sort of deity in the sky. And so the Satanists that fall under the Satanic Temple are just that. We have congregations across the country, I think in almost all 50 states. And we have our campaigns that fall under the National Satanic Temple organization. And that's what After School Satan Club is part of. And then we also have a whole group of a ministry program for our ordained ministers as well. So really 3 sections that fall under the Satanic Temple. And we also have a lot of people that don't affiliate with a congregation or a campaign, or they're not ordained, but are just members of the Satanic Temple and keep up with what we do. We have quite a few of those as well. So the mission of the Satanic Temple is to encourage benevolence and empathy. I used to have it memorized, but we do go off of the 7 fundamental tenets. And I'm not sure if you have those pulled up. I used to have them memorized as well, but that's kind of how we live as the Satanic Temple members.
What I read, which I found fascinating, was the emphasis on benevolence and empathy in accordance with reason. So what place does reason have in your belief system?
So that's to each person, to each Satanist, that is a different answer. We like to think of Satanism as highly individualistic. So in accordance with reason to me might mean something different to you. For me, I, as becoming a Satanist, now this is silly. Like I don't go around crushing spiders and killing snakes. Like I've realized that everything has a purpose. Everything wants to live. Be empathetic to those that maybe you don't understand. And I don't want to get too far and too scattered, but basically to me, it's taking care of the world, taking care of the planet, taking care of our fellow beings, taking care of everybody, and realizing that, at the end of the day, we just have this one life to live here on Earth.
Okay, you just said something that caught my attention. You said reason is defined differently by each person, or means something different to each person. But you also mentioned, well, you didn't mention, but in your mission statement and the write-ups I've read about science and accepting science. But if everybody can define reason for themselves, that would mean that everybody can define truth for themselves.
So I think what I'm getting confused on is the mission and then one of the tenets that says, here, do you have them pulled up? I hate to delay
well,
things.
I am very technologically illiterate. I've only been on the computer for a few months. So no, I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay. Let me pull them up for you, because the mission is different than the tenets, and I was crossing the two. And I don't want to get tongue tied with what I was going for. So the mission is one thing. Of course, it's wanting me to sign up for the newsletter. The part that I was getting confused with tenet one, which is one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason.
Yes.
So that's tenet one. And that specifically to me has to do with more or less respecting everyone's right to live and respecting that everybody has a reason to be here. As far as the Satanic Temple's mission, and I can look that up for you as well, because I know I got the first part. They make a very big point to not jam this religion down anyone's throat. So when it comes to like, you have to memorize these and you have to know, and you have to, they almost are hypersensitive to that fact. So then when we're put on the spot, we're like, I don't have them memorized, but I have them posted right by my desk and in my wallet and everywhere else. Hold on one second. Well, hell, I'm not going to find it. Do you have you don't have the mission pulled up, do you?
I don't, but I can phrase my question to you, and I think you
sure
can answer it.
So when it comes to science and when it comes to, what we know here on earth as facts, we are told not, we learn not to distort the facts, meaning when it crosses with faith-based religions, and everybody has their right to their own beliefs, we believe that as well. Our religion is not based on any sort of faith. It's not based on any sort of like woo, like we don't believe in any sort of superstition, any sort of supernatural, because that hasn't been proven by science. It's all based on, faith and what we don't know, which we understand. There's a lot that we don't know. But when it comes to the, scientific facts and what we know today, that's what we base our beliefs on.
Okay. So I like a lot of what you just said. The only issue I take with it is back to the reason point. If reason, like you say, benevolence and empathy in accordance with reason, and you say you're not a faith-based organization, but if reason is different for everybody, then what it means really is benevolence and empathy according to what you think.
Well, that's not the tenet. So we're crossing the mission with the tenet.
But it's still part of the organization, right? So my only concern is with reason.
Well, it's all creatures. It's all creatures in accordance with reason.
In accordance with
so
reason.
the mission doesn't mention the reason part. So we're crossing the two. So when it comes to all creatures in accordance with reason, yes, that part is, with reason. So if you're getting attacked by a bobcat or a mountain lion, it's probably best that reason tells you that it's okay to probably protect yourself and kill this animal.
Absolutely, I agree.
Right, right. Now, but if you're just walking by and you want to go, kill something that's just minding its own business,
that would just be cruel, right?
Within reason, exactly. So within reason, like within your reason, right?
But in order to distinguish reason from faith, there has to be an objective basis for reason. It can't just be each person defines reason for himself, because then I can just
and I messed up by saying that because I was
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I was crossing to like the mission and one of the tenets in accordance with reason when it specifically has to do with like creatures.
Okay,
so
now that we got through that, what the after school programs are really I caught my attention. What is the nature of they're actually called after school Satan programs, right?
After school Satan Club.
Satan Club. Right, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes,
after school Satan Club. So what's the nature of these clubs? Why do you do them, and what kind of pushback have you gotten?
Okay, so it's a lot to unpack, and I'll talk fast because it is a lot. Part of the relevance in why I'm sitting here today has a lot to do with my own children. This was 7 years ago, and we were at a public school here in Colorado. My husband and I, raise our kids. We don't go to church, but we kind of want them to be able to grow up and decide for themselves what they'd like to believe. I would have considered us, agnostic, atheist, maybe a nun, which is like none of the above. Don't really, my mom was Jewish. My dad was a non-denominational Christian. So when it comes to religion, I was raised fairly secular. So I didn't have any trauma from religion. I wasn't abused or, traumatized by any way, mentally, physically, emotionally by religion, like a lot of our members have been. But my kid comes home from school one day and he's upset and he's crying because somebody told him that he was going to burn in hell and be taken away from everybody that he knows and loves if he doesn't accept Jesus Christ into his heart. So a little bit of back story there. I was on the board at the time. So I knew that there was what we call a good news club running at the school. And this is a club that has been around since the 40s or 50s. They've been around a long time. They're ran by the organization called the Child Evangelism Fellowship. And the key word there is evangelism. So they make no, they don't try to hide the fact that their goal is to evangelize and to spread the good word of Jesus Christ. So having, this upset first grader in the back of my car and trying to put things together, I went home and started researching. And I learned that, the Good News Club, their tactics are to teach the children that attend this club to go after their peers and their classmates. So, before I had no issue. Okay, it's after school. You have to have a permission slip for your kiddo to attend. Fine. It's a little confusing, I think, when kids are done with, their first grade class with Miss Francione, and then they go right into the Good News Club class where they're told that they're going to burn in hell for eternity if they don't believe in Jesus Christ. And that same first grade teacher, Miss Francione, is teaching them that. I think that does take advantage of blurring the lines between the separation of church and state when it comes to government buildings. So as I went down the rabbit hole, I found the Satanic Temple. And at the time, they had just launched After School Satan Club. Unfortunately, because it was under our congregations at the time and it wasn't under our national organization, they had a lot of issues getting the program up and going. They needed insurance. They needed somebody to stay on these, board members and superintendents like full time, writing them with all the paperwork, making sure approvals happen, getting all the volunteers lined up. It was a lot. So our, launching After School Satan Club during that time was kind of a flop. And during that time, I also found my local congregation here in Colorado. And having said that, I was born and raised secular. I didn't understand religion. I didn't understand why people needed religion. I didn't understand a church family, but I found these people that were like-minded people, the most loving and empathetic and non-judgmental people I'd ever met. And I became part of the church family. So meanwhile, all this is clicking for me like, okay, I don't hate religion. I just hate people that take their religion and shove it down everybody else's throat, or the people that do harm in, and then, I hate to say, but the Catholic priests, for example, and their reputation right now, every day we hear about more priests that are, in trouble for molesting children. And then they can go right next to the chapel and ask for forgiveness, and they're ready to go. They're good to go. So I found out that there are religions out there that don't force their beliefs on other people. There are religions out there that don't use their religion to do harm. And so all this is happening, and they asked me, hey, June, do you want to become the campaign director for After School Satan Club? Them knowing how I was brought to the temple, I had said no the first 2 times, and then finally agreed to say yes, knowing that our campaigns were now under the national organization, which meant we could get insurance, which meant we could, have the resources to get everything in place, which meant we had the volunteers in place and everything that we needed. So I started, right before COVID hit. That was 2020. And so I was kind of left just twiddling my thumbs for 6-7 months. And then the schools across the nation started allowing back to school clubs to begin again. So, the Good News Club started opening up in different public schools, and I was just kind of waiting for the email, because one thing that's important is we're kind of like vampires. Like, we don't go anywhere unless we're invited in. So I got the first email in November of 2020, and it was from not a Satanist, a free thinker in the area of Illinois, Moline, Illinois. And he said, hey, June, listen, this Good News Club has been here for 10 years. I don't feel comfortable sending my children. Would you be able to possibly bring the club here? And I had explained, hey, this is my first time, me personally, launching a club. We're going to just wing it, and we're going to ride this wave together. And within a month, the board had approved the club. We went in, we had an amazing time. And then after that, we were on Tucker Carlson that evening, and things have just really gained momentum since that first launch that I did in Illinois. And as more and more parents find out about the club and find out about the Satanic Temple, and they learn about the Good News Club, I'm just getting like 3 or 4 requests a day to come to these schools and offer this alternative program. So that was a lot. I know.
Yeah. Okay. So when the kids go to the program, what are they learning in these clubs? What do they do?
Sure. One thing I wanted to say, because a lot of people are very, what's your curriculum? We need to know what these kids are doing. Well, first off, I wanted to remind everybody that it does require a parental or guardian permission slip. So we're not coming after your children, and we're not forcing any children to attend our club. When I first joined the Satanic Temple and started diving in, I realized we had set curriculum, and it felt an awful lot like school. I ran it by my kids. They were really young at the time, and they said, yeah, Mom, the last thing we want to do after sitting for 8 hours is go and sit some more. So I said, well, what should this club be based on? And they said, having fun. So, knowing that the 7 fundamental tenets are part of our deeply held religious beliefs, I really wanted our volunteers to be inspired by the tenets so that they were able to have each club be sort of unique in their own way based on what their interests are. We had a zookeeper bring a skunk in once. We've had different musicians bring different things in to show them different instruments, I should say, not to really teach them songs, but we do kindness rocks. We do everything that's kind of mostly, giving back to the communities that we're in. We did dog tie ropes for the local dog shelter. We did little cat scratch pads for the kiddos to take home to their cats because they love to scratch at them. So really, it's more or less, giving back to the community is really what a lot of our activities tend to be based on.
So they're not like sacrificing animals to Baal or any other demons or Beelzebub or anything
it's
like
funny you
that,
say
right?
that. First, no, absolutely not. We do nothing, federally illegal by the state, or uh, harm anything that would cause any sort of blood to be drawn. That's absolutely terrible. Most of the members that I know, especially within my congregation, are vegetarian or vegan. Like, they wouldn't, seriously, I've seen them carry out like flies on paper to go outside. Like, they wouldn't literally harm a fly. So no, there's no like bloodletting or crazy that sacrifices like the people think when they think of the devil or Satan. We did do a club that was kind of at an elementary school, middle school combined. And we had some older kids join us that time. And I realized that they were kind of like hoping that there was going to be something crazy like that and exciting. And then you could like see the looks on their faces when I was like, okay, we're making friendship bracelets. And, do you guys want some Cheetos? And they're just like, it was like anticlimactic for them. I think they thought we were going to be doing something crazy and fun. But yeah, most of the time it's, crafts and different sort of community service projects and, different science projects. We do a lot of science, different experiments and stuff, nothing that requires fire or, any kind of chemical that could blow up, of course.
Or
Yeah.
brimstone, I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
nothing. Yeah, I saw a warning the other day, like, please don't bring fire into the library. And I'm like, well, they would have to warn us, I guess. Thinking.
So an after school Satan club comes into a town. I have to imagine there's pushback in these towns when the club gets there. So what happens? What do you
So
hear from local communities?
one thing I wanted to say, Michael, is that, I hope that someday it's no longer a big deal. We launched a club in Colorado, my home state, where the assistant principal came out, shook our hands. This was our club that launched in Paonia, Colorado. There was no protesters. There was no police. There was no uprise. I think I did get a couple media requests. It was the most peaceful thing that we've ever club, most peaceful moment, I should say, in ASSC land that I've ever experienced. And I thought to myself, why can't every club be just like this? When our country is based on religious freedom and religious pluralism and your rights to do as you wish, as long as you're not harming or hurting anyone or anything else, or trampling on anybody else's beliefs or rights. Why can't it just be this easy? Like, why can't we just walk in with the kids, do our thing, and leave peacefully? But you're right, 9 times out of 10 the community freaks the fuck out. Everybody's in an uproar. We try to do our best as far as educating the community. Hey, look us up. We're not actually like devil worshipers coming into your school to try to sacrifice your children and turn them into Satan. Like, that's not what we're doing here. So a large chunk of people say, okay, let me go research these people. Okay, I don't agree with it, but I understand, and I'm going to, accept it for what this is. This is not what I thought. And then there's the other side that just can't let it go. We're getting death threats. They're insisting that they're going to come into the class and that they're going to, insist that they sit there and watch what we're doing and know exactly and da 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 and set. And it's like, it's just fascinating to see the hypocrisy and the bigotry that turns up when a lot of these people that, you know, claim that they believe in the Constitution and they believe in individual freedom and they believe in individual choice, it all kind of goes out the door when the word Satan is thrown into the mix. It's fascinating to watch.
That actually brings me to my next question. So you don't believe in God, you don't believe in a literal Satan. You teach benevolence, empathy, reason, respect for science, respect for facts, right? You have to know that Satan is associated with evil, justly or not. I'm just, in the minds of
Okay,
most people, Satan, the
it is.
concept is. So
Yep, legend has
why?
it, and yeah, Christian
So
Bible
yeah.
words. Yeah.
So well, the Quran as well. But why not? Why call the organization the Satanic Temple? Why not call it the Reason Club or the
Right.
After
After school
School
science
Science
club.
Club? Right.
Yeah.
Why the invocation of Satan?
So I wanted to say too that our belief in Satan isn't from the Bible. It's from more modern books like Milton's Paradise Lost. Like there's a whole bunch of books that I could actually, you know, give you and send to your readers if they're interested. Like we could believe in Satan as the, you know, the rebel against tyranny and, you know, the first one to stand up for, you know, equal rights. We don't have to believe the way that the Christians believe in the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
New Testament. My mom's Jewish. She was, you know, old school, Old Testament, the devil's not real. So there is a huge chunk of people that believe that the devil does not exist. And, you know, as I mentioned, the Christians don't have the monopoly on the devil. Having said that, understanding that their belief makes it so that they believe the devil is evil and that they don't like the name of our club and they don't like the name of our organization and they don't like our logos and they don't like everything that we, you know, incorporate into our beliefs. I like to say, you know what, here's the deal. Okay. If we were to name our club the Fluffy Bunnies and Science Club or the After School Rainbow and Love Club, and they were to find out that we were a club ran by the Satanic Temple, I feel like that would cause more of an issue than being outright and upfront and truthful and honest with who we are. As Satanists, we are proud to be Satanists. We're not trying to like be more palatable for the masses. Our goal
Mm-hmm.
isn't to have 50 kids at these clubs. Our goal isn't numbers. Our goal isn't drawing people into us. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
we, you know, when people come to us and say we don't want to be a Satanist, it's kind of like the Jewish people. It's like, maybe don't really know if we want you yet. Like we don't want these people. So we want to be upfront. We want to be honest, and we want to let people know that Satanists are everywhere and that we're doing good things in our communities.
But even the temple, even the name of the temple, the Satanic Temple,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't conjure up in people's minds what the temple's mission is, right? And it seems to me that it's largely done to provoke. And what I mean by that is this: if the organization is just called the Humanistic Temple in the after school programs or the Humanistic Club, you're not going on Tucker Carlson. No one cares, right? This is
Right.
you could have all the same beliefs that you have,
Sure.
just no Satanic Temple, but then you're not getting any attention. Not just you specifically. I mean
I-
the overall club.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems to me that that's intentional. Am
Well,
I
it's
am I
not.
wrong? And not that I'm
I
not even
think,
saying. Hold on, let me just
sure,
say
sure, sure.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with marketing. I mean that
No,
I'm
no, no,
just
no.
saying it because
Right.
it's not
So,
Satan. Like you don't even really believe in Satan.
right. But we are Satanists and we believe in Satan in the terms that we believe as, you know, Satan as a symbol. And
Okay.
I mean, as much as everybody says, but we're Satanists. We are self-identified Satanists. We are, you know, non-theistic. We are part of the Satanic Temple. And on the advocacy side of things, you know, it tends to get the headlines. It tends to draw media attention, After School Satan Club being one of them. And when I mentioned that, you know, we had this club launch and there was no media there, that made my day much easier and much happier. And I don't like having to explain over and over and over again who we are. We like to go about our business and do our thing. What happens when mom gets upset and the permission slip goes viral and next thing you know, I have 20 media requests in my inbox? I can't help that. That's what's going to happen because of the name, but that is never our intention. I don't know if you've ever heard Lucian Greaves speak. He is one of our co-founders of the Satanic Temple. He absolutely hates it. He's upset that, you know, we launched this amazing reproductive rights campaign to help women get abortions across the United States. And all they care about is the Grammys where, you know, Sam Smith had this whole satanic ritual. And we're like, no, we don't care about that. What we care about is the advocacy side for our members and our, you know, people, that they have equal rights in the same public domain that the Christians do when it comes to, you know, having a 10 Commandments monument up on the state capitol grounds. Cool. We'd like to have Baphomet there as well. The fact that it does point out the hypocrisy in our laws, and it does point out that, you know, it says this, but it doesn't really mean that. That's something that we just happen to uncover as we are going through, you know, the process.
So I read that there's, and you just referenced one, but what other political causes does the Satanic Temple support?
Some of them you've probably never heard of, and that's because they don't draw in headlines and media, and that's great. My campaign happens to, because, you know, we're going into public schools.
Yeah.
Even when we try to keep it, you know, quiet, that was the first club I ever did. It was like the day of, and somebody had posted like right before we were about to go in the permission slip, and of course everybody was freaking out after the fact, right? The club had already happened. So we have our Protect Children campaign, which actually protects children from corporal punishment. And I think that's still legal in 23 states across the country. We have our Gray Faction campaign, which protects people from pseudoscience, so that people that believe in basically fake science don't get credentials that allow them to diagnose people. Like, think satanic panic, like, oh, okay, yeah, you're definitely possessed by the devil. That's your problem. You definitely shouldn't have to serve 18 years for the murder of your child. You're just possessed by a demon. Like, that's all bullshit to us. So we have our reproductive rights campaign, which protects our members for the right to have an abortion, because one of our tenets is, you know, our body is our inviolable, subject to our own will alone. So that means that, you know, if Hobby Lobby all of a sudden doesn't have to get, you know, birth control for their employees because that goes against their deeply held religious beliefs, well, saying, you know, not having safe access to an abortion goes against our deeply held religious beliefs. So it's using, you know, religious privilege as well to help our members. We also have our
hold on one
Satanic
second. I want to ask you a question. Can you hold on one second? Because I just want to ask you about what you just said. So you advocate for free choice when it comes to abortion. Right. But you mentioned that other organizations that don't want to provide birth control, do you advocate for the government to force private organizations to provide birth control? Or are you just saying if they're free to not give the stuff out, women should be free to get an abortion?
We don't advocate for the government to do that, but if the government is going to advocate for religious exemptions, we're going to be right in line to have our religious exemptions as well.
Okay, so you're not arguing that the government should be forcing companies to provide these things,
right?
Okay.
It's just if you know, if different organizations have religious exemptions, and that's a thing that is provided by our government, we're going to take, you know, we're going to have religious exemptions as well. Okay. When, you know, Roe versus Wade is overturned and now women don't have safe access to abortion.
Okay.
Did you want me to keep rambling about all our boring campaigns?
No, I know. I want you to go on. I just wanted to clear, because because I'm pro-choice myself, but I don't think that private organizations should be compelled to provide abortions or to provide birth control.
Absolutely.
Because these are
and then
private
once they enter,
organizations.
we're on the same page there, because once they enter that game, now it should be fair for everyone. If you're going to get that exemption, then what about all the other religions that have exemptions? Or, you know, it has to be applied, say, you know, equally across the board, equal for everybody, even the religions you don't like or the ones that you think are bullshit, you know, equal for everybody. So yes, you know, that's part of our religious rights reproductive campaign. We have our Satanic Good Works, which works with our congregations to do different drives across the nation. So, for example, here in Colorado, we did Menstruating with Satan, which collects different sort of menstrual supplies, because that's one of the most overlooked supplies when, you know, people are making a donation. It's usually, you know, canned food and pantry items, but, you know, that's one of the supplies that they are usually homeless shelters are short on. So yeah, and we're getting ready to do food, something for the devil, and it's collecting food items for different charities around town. So our campaign helps with that. Different congregations kind of get the flyers out, get the word out.
And you're big on free speech, right?
Well, we're big on the First Amendment for sure. And yeah, as long as your speech isn't hurting anyone, and it's one of our tenets. You have the respect, but I'm going to slaughter it if I don't look it up. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of others is to forego your own. So, yes.
So big on freedom, but we're on the same page there. So
Absolutely.
where do you see the organization in general and the clubs in particular going in the future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line?
Sure. After School Satan Club sort of had to take a little bit of a back seat when Roe versus Wade was overturned. The priority of our members' health, being able to have access to safe abortion, became priority number one. And that is when our campaign for reproductive health opened up. Their mission was to open up a clinic in New Mexico in order to provide women with safe abortions. So that meant after school Satan clubs goals that we were working on at the time kind of had to take a back seat, which is fully understandable. We are looking into, hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, opening our own private charter school, because I'm not sure if you knew, a couple different states are starting to allow government taxpayer money to go fund private Catholic schools and different private theocratic schools. So our goal is to take advantage of some of that government money going forward, so that we can have our own private school funded by taxpayers' money, just like these other schools, other religions. And as far as After School Satan Club goes, I hope to continue to keep, launching them across the country. I think my job will be done if the Supreme Court ever decides to hear a case where they decide, you know what, maybe religion shouldn't be in schools, even if it is after hours. Maybe this isn't a good thing, because it wasn't until 2001 that it was allowed. So we're not talking that this has always been a thing in America's schools. My job will be done. I'll have to find something else to do. But yeah, so as long as the Good News Club and different evangelical clubs and different faiths and different religions are allowed to go into public schools, I hope that we will be there to offer an alternative to the parents that don't want to send their kid to a Bible school, to the parents that feel that their beliefs don't align with evangelical beliefs, parents that have always been, kind of the black sheep. We get a lot of pagans, we get a lot of humanists, we get a lot of free thinkers, we get a lot of atheists, we get a lot of agnostics. So yeah, I hope that I continue to be able to offer them a place where they can send their kids.
All right. So you just said that the first of all, does the temple or the clubs, do they get government money now?
Nope, absolutely not. I
Okay.
wish, I
Okay.
wish it'd make my life a
Okay.
whole lot
Well,
easier.
okay. So here's the thing. You're advocating to get government money, right? One of the tenets that you told me about was the right to do whatever you want as long as you don't violate the rights of others. Basic freedom. How does it not violate people's rights to take their money and fund the Satanic Temple?
I'm not saying that we agree with it, but if the government is allowing it, then that becomes a First Amendment issue for us. The government cannot allow the Catholics and the Baptists and the evangelicals to have their own private schools, and then not the Satanists.
So why
So
not just argue that the government doesn't do it for them? Why get on the gravy train? Because it may say it's a First Amendment issue. To me,
sure.
it contradicts the whole Constitution. There's nothing in Article 1, Section 8 that authorizes the government to fund religions, any of them. Freedom of
Right.
religion does not mean getting funded by the government. So
But
if
it's
you're,
happening.
it
Right.
does happen,
It's
but
happened.
if you're going
It's
to,
done.
no, it does. But if you're going to be
Yeah.
true to that principle of not violating the rights of others, why not argue against it? Say this
But
should
how is
not be
that?
happening.
How is opening a Satan school when there's Catholic schools and Baptist schools and all these private religious schools? How is that? How is that? What was the question?
It has
Offending
to do with
others?
tax. No, it has to do with violating rights. It has to do
Oh,
with taxpayer
how
money.
is that violating
Taxes are
the rights
necessarily
though?
taken by force, right?
Because the government has decided it's not a violation of taxpayers' rights.
Yeah, but of course, the government can say whatever it
Yeah.
wants. It doesn't make it
Right. Right.
so.
Right.
Reality dictates. Like you said, you have to have respect for facts. The fact of the
Sure.
matter is that the government is forcing people to turn their money over,
Sure.
and to go and belly up to the
Yeah.
trough and not explain that this is not right is to be a part of the rights violation.
I don't know if it's a violation. I don't understand how it's hurting anybody or,
Because it's taking their money.
harming. But
It's also violating their rights to fund these other religions. They're going and
it
taking
is.
people's money.
I mean, are we just supposed to like sit back and be the good guy and let Catholic religions and Baptist, all the other faiths get some of that government cheddar to further their beliefs and to
Um,
offer,
uh, if you want to be
that
consistent with your
school for their
principles,
belief for their kids?
to be consistent with principles, I would say yes. You sit back and be the good guy, and at the very least,
Well,
state that this is wrong, that this is being done. Period.
right. We also used to not be a nonprofit. So now we have, that nonprofit designation.
Mhm.
So all I have to say is as times change and we evolve and the government continues to do what they're doing, we're going to continue to take advantage. Our tenants also say that the one's best understanding of the world at that moment. So I mean, we evolve. If our Satanists want to have kids that are in a private Satan school, then they should be allowed that same right as the Catholic private school and the Baptist
Absolutely,
kids at the
sure.
Baptist
They
school.
should absolutely be able to have private
So
schools.
it
There should be
sucks that
nothing stopping it.
that's the way we're going, that we're heading towards Gilead, it seems like most days.
But to have the
But
government pay for it, something totally different.
I think it's messed up personally, but I'm also going to send my kid to a private Satan school if right next door there's a Catholic Catholic school and a private Baptist school,
Sure, I have
That's
no
what we're
issue
gonna
with
do.
there being a private Satan school, but if it's a private,
Right.
if I go open a business today, that I don't go
Right.
to the government and say fund my
Oh,
business.
we're pissed about it too, Michael. Trust me. Like we're trying to fight it. And this
Oh,
is
okay.
one of the situations. Oh, absolutely. Where we say, and I like to kid, this is how you get ants. You make a mess, you leave your crumbs everywhere, and the Satanists are the ants that are going to come in and clean it up. And actually, someone actually said when they passed the bill in Oklahoma that would allow taxpayer money to be used to vouchers for private Christian and private Catholic schools, the gentleman actually said, this is how you get the Satanists asking for a Satan school. Like they never really think it through. Like they're just, so narrow-minded into the majority religion and what the majority wants, but they forget about the other religions that might be asking for that same permission and the same rights as the others. So it's like the Satanists come in and they go, oh shit, we didn't really think about that. Yeah, there's a 10 Commandments monument up on our, state capitol grounds. And we say, cool, we're going to put Baphomet right next to it. And suddenly everything's held up in court for 6 years. Right. So we're the ones that come in and put the checks and balances, because as an atheist, I feel like you can yell and scream about it, and this is unconstitutional, and taxpayers' money shouldn't be going to fund Catholic priests molesting children, right?
Mhm.
But nobody does anything. The Satanists come in and they go, oh shit, we better think this one through, right? And so that's where the Satanic Temple sort of comes in, because we demand the same rights as other religious organizations do in the government and public atmosphere sphere.
Okay. Is there anything that I forgot to ask or that you would like to add? Feel free.
No, I wanted to encourage people. It seems like you probably have, from what you described, a fairly open-minded, following. Encourage people to look into us, see what we're doing good in the world. I know that we were just challenging invocations before Boston City Council meetings, and we uncovered that these invocations were given by people that were paid priests to come. And so the Satanic Temple asked, hey, can we give an invocation? And we uncovered this whole mess of, paid pastors, Christian pastors, to come and do invocations before city council meetings. And, of course, we come in and we say, hey, we'd like to do an invocation. And they find 100 different reasons why we can't, which is, then that's why everything gets turned up in
Mhm.
litigation. But I want people to just be, encouraged to research us, look into us, not always judge a book by its cover. Don't always go by your, knee-jerk reaction when you hear after school Satan Club. Look into us, see what we're doing. We're real people. We definitely have our religious held beliefs that align with, a non-theistic Satan. And we're trying to do good things out there in all of our communities.
Okay. And where can people find you?
I would go to our main website, which is thesatanictemple.com. And then from there, they can sign up for our newsletter, which is free. It's free to be a member. We don't We don't charge anything to be a member of the Satanic Temple. And you can look at all of our ongoing campaigns, see what we're up to in the news, and see what sort of, battles we're fighting, and see what our different congregations are doing across the world, I should say, because we do have congregations all over the world. Yeah, check it out.
All right, June. Well, thank you very much for being
Thank you,
here.
Michael. Yeah.
And
Thanks for asking me. I always appreciate, people asking what we're all about, like, instead of just making assumptions and drawing their own conclusions, that, I appreciate you reaching out.
no problem. And maybe we'll have you on again when another controversy arises. For now, I'm
Yeah.
Michael Liebowitz. This is the Rational Egoist signing out. Links for my book, View from a Cage, will be attached to this episode. And remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next time.